My wife, the Ice Queen Ruby Liu, has been kidnapped. The kidnappers said they'd only release her if I cut off one of my hands. Watching my wife crying her eyes out in the video, I fell into deep thought. Cutting off a hand. This hand, though it hasn't accomplished any earth-shattering feats, it can play games, peel crayfish, scroll through short videos, occasionally clean out ears, or even stand in for my wife. What an important, hard-working, indispensable hand this is. Once this hand is gone, it's gone for good. As for a wife, well, if she's gone, I could always marry another one. So, under the stunned gazes of the kidnappers and my wife, I turned and ran, and even called the police for them on the way. Hello, officer, there's a group of people filming a movie here. The props are way too realistic. I'm terrified. I'm Jackie, a proud live-in son-in-law. Yes, the kind with no status in those novels, looked down on daily by my in-laws and sister-in-law, and whose wife even ran off with someone else. That unlucky guy. But my situation is a bit different. My in-laws retired abroad long ago. My sister-in-law is still in college. And as for my wife in name only, Ruby Liu, the icy billionaire fashion mogul, in 3 years of marriage, we've exchanged fewer than 100 words. We live under the same roof but sleep in separate rooms, as pure as 2 cucumbers. Aside from a monthly allowance of 10,000 yuan and living in a villa worth hundreds of millions, my life is no different from that of an ordinary office drone. That is, until today, when an unfamiliar call came through. Jackie, right? Your wife Ruby Liu is in our hands. The voice on the other end was rough and raspy, with a deliberately menacing undertone. I was slurping snail noodles at the time and nearly choked on them. Bro, you've got the wrong number. I'm just a kept man. What wife? Cut the crap. Westside Junkyard, come alone. Don't even think about calling the cops, or you'll be collecting your wife's remains. Beep, beep, beep. The call ended. I stared blankly for 3 seconds, then quietly picked up a chopstick full of sour bamboo shoots. Today's batch tasted especially authentic. Kidnapping, and kidnapping my so-called wife at that? What kind of international joke is this? With the plastic marriage Ruby Liu and I have, if she gets kidnapped and I run to save her, what's in it for me? Do I want her to come back and keep giving me the cold shoulder, or do I want her to dock my allowance this month? I calmly finished the last noodle, drank up the broth, let out a satisfied burp, then leisurely changed my clothes. No matter what, the act has to be convincing. After all, my persona is that of a lovesick fool deeply devoted to Ruby Liu. That's the agreement we signed when we got married. I'm responsible for playing the doting husband, helping her fend off those annoying pests, and she's responsible for providing me with a comfortable, idle life. Now, it's time to put my acting skills to the test. I drove the cheapest willing van from Ruby Liu's garage, humming a tune as I swayed my way to the Westside Junkyard. As soon as I parked, 2 burly men in black ski masks rushed over, grabbing me from both sides. Hand over your phone, they demanded. I cooperatively passed them my old flip phone. The thug stared at the Nokia in my hand, clearly taken aback. You use this piece of junk? It could probably crack walnuts. Wanna give it a try, bro? I enthusiastically suggested. The thug fell silent, then wordlessly shoved me inside. Inside the factory, the light was dim and dust swirled in the air. Tied to a chair in the center was a woman, my bargain wife, Ruby Liu. She wore a high-end custom white gown, now smeared with grime. Her hair was disheveled, and her usually frosty, elegant face was etched with panic and helplessness. Her eyes were red, as if she'd been crying. My heart went out to her. Ha! This pitiful look suited her far better than her usual cold, disdainful glare. Across from her, a man with a brutish face and a knife scar at the corner of his eye sat with his legs crossed, idly twirling a dagger in his hand. This was Scarface, the leader of the kidnappers. Scarface grinned as I entered, revealing a row of yellowed teeth. So you're Jackie, Ruby Liu's man. I straightened my back, gazing at Ruby with deep affection, and declared in a tone that could have moved Shakespeare to tears. Ruby, don't be afraid. I'm here to save you. Ruby looked at me with a complex expression, surprise, gratitude, and a hint of barely concealed disdain. Scarface was thoroughly disgusted by my performance. He waved a dismissive hand. Enough, enough, stop the act. He picked up a nearby phone, opened a video call, and pointed it at me. On the screen appeared a stern middle-aged man, my father-in-law, Arthur Liu. Dad, Ruby cried out. Arthur Liu's face was grim on the other end of the call. What do you want? Just name your price. Scarface chuckled darkly. Mr. Liu, we don't want money. Then what do you want? Scarface revealed a cruel smile, looked at me, and gestured with his chin toward a rusty axe lying on the ground nearby. We want to see just how deep your love for your daughter goes. As her mother, Jackie, he said, enunciating each word deliberately, cut off your own left hand, and I'll let your wife go. The entire factory fell silent in an instant, the air thick with a tension so palpable it seemed to freeze. Ruby Liu's pupils contracted sharply, staring at Scarface in disbelief before turning to me, her eyes filled with struggle and a flicker of hope. On the video call, Arthur Liu also fell silent, his brow furrowed as he stared intently at me. I froze. cut off my hand. I looked down at my left hand. This hand, though it had never accomplished any earth-shattering feats, could play games, peel crayfish, scroll through short videos, and occasionally clean out ears. What an important, diligent, and indispensable hand it was. Looking at Ruby Lou again. She's truly beautiful with a great figure, but would she save me some crayfish? Would she play video games with me? Would she give me pocket money to go to the foot massage parlor? No, she wouldn't. She'd just stare at me with those icy eyes, as if I were a piece of shit clogging her villa's toilet. This multiple-choice question was simpler than 1 + 1 = 2. I took a deep breath, my face showing pain, struggle, and a heroic expression. Step by step, I slowly approached the axe, each footfall heavy with weight. Ruby Lou's eyes grew redder. She bit her lip as if wanting to say something but couldn't utter a sound. Scarface and his men wore cruel, amused smiles, while Arthur Lou in the video looked increasingly grave. I finally reached the axe. Bending down with a reverent posture, I slowly picked up a brick lying beside it. Then, before anyone could react, I executed a swift 180-degree turn with the speed of lightning. A dazzling, unexpected move. I sprinted toward the factory gate with all my might, shouting at the top of my lungs as I ran, my voice piercing through the clouds and snow. Farewell, my love. In the next life, I'll serve you like a loyal ox or horse. Officer, help, it's them. They're gambling here and cheating. The whole world seemed to hit the pause button. Scarface's smile froze, his mouth gaping wide enough to fit an egg. His masked henchmen's expressions were hidden, but their suddenly stiff body language showed they were just as stunned. As for Ruby Lou, tied to the chair, her delicate, pitifully lovely face now wore an expression too vivid to describe. Shock, disbelief, fury, all melting into a blank void. In her over 20 years of life, she'd probably never met someone so shameless. On the video call, Arthur Lou was so enraged he shot up from his chair, pointing at the screen, lips trembling without a word. Holy shit, Scarface was the first to react. He roared in fury, slamming the dagger in his hand to the ground. Get after him, kill that bastard. His lackeys snapped out of their daze and charged after me, but I was faster. No joke, I was the university track champion in the 100-meter dash. Even though I've been slacking off for years after graduation, these legs never stopped training, all for the sake of snatching the canteen's braised pork the moment it's served. Like a wild dog off its leash, I darted left and right through the abandoned factory, leaping over obstacles and scrambling under them. Bro, stop chasing me. I truly love her. I'm just going to get back up for her. This is a strategic retreat, don't you get it? You guys have no future like this. With the crackdown on crime in full swing, you're just asking for trouble. While running, I unleashed my gift of gab, trying to reason with them, but it was utterly useless. They only chased me harder. Just as I was about to be caught, a flash of inspiration struck. Spotting a pile of discarded oil drums nearby, I didn't hesitate. I kicked them over with all my might. With a loud clatter, a dozen or so oil drums came tumbling down, instantly blocking their path. One of the thugs at the front couldn't dodge in time and was tripped by the rolling drums. Landing face first in the dirt, he took 2 others down with him, leaving the scene in utter chaos. Useless. A bunch of useless fools. Scarface was hopping mad in the back, stomping his feet in frustration. Seizing the chance, I put some distance between us. The gate was just a step away. Freedom was within reach. But just as I was about to burst through the gate and dash into the welcoming sunlight, something unexpected happened. My foot suddenly plunged into empty air. With a sharp crack, the ground beneath me split open into a gaping hole, and I plummeted down instantly. Amid my terrified scream, the world plunged into darkness. When I regained consciousness, I found myself lying in what seemed like a basement. It was pitch black all around, save for a faint glimmer of light filtering down from the hole above. I fell hard, feeling like my bones were about to fall apart. Damn it, this factory even has underground traps. Shoddy construction really kills people. I struggled to get up, only to feel a sharp, piercing pain in my ankle. I twisted it. Just when it rains, it pours. Fate really loves to play tricks on me. As I was wallowing in self-pity, footsteps echoed from above. Scarface and his gang appeared at the edge of the hole, looking down at me with a mix of relief after a narrow escape and the gleeful expression of a cat toying with a mouse. Run, you bastard, try running now. Scarface spat viciously. You had a clear path to heaven but refused to take it, and now you've barged into hell where there was no door. This is an old cellar I dug out before. Never thought it'd come in handy today. I lay on the ground, staring up at him. I forced a weak, helpless smile. It's all a misunderstanding. I was just trying to stretch my legs and warm up, so I'd have the strength to chop off my hand. I don't believe a word of it. Scarface clearly wasn't buying it. He gave his men a meaningful look. Get him up here. A rope was thrown down from above, trussed up like a hog. I was dragged upward and dumped next to Ruby Lou like a dead dog. Ruby Lou looked at my disheveled state with icy eyes, not a trace of sympathy in them. Instead, they held thick disdain and anger. I glared right back. What are you staring at? If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be in this mess. My compensation for emotional distress this month. You're definitely paying extra. Scarface picked up the axe from the ground again and threw it in front of me with a loud clang. Kid, this is your last chance. He pointed at my left hand, then at Ruby Lou. Or I'll cripple her first. Then you. The tension ratcheted up to its peak once more. This time, Scarface and his men were clearly on guard. 4 or 5 of them surrounded me, cutting off any possible escape route. I glanced at the axe head, then at Ruby Lou. Ruby Lou was also looking at me, but this time, her eyes held no expectation, only a chilling despair. She seemed to have resigned herself to fate. I sighed. It looked like today. This hand really had to be chopped off. Slowly, I extended my right hand and gripped the cold axe handle, just as I raised the axe head, ready to make a clean cut on my own left hand to end this farce. Woo woo woo. Outside the factory, the piercing sound of police sirens suddenly blared, growing clearer and closer. Everyone in the factory was stunned once again. Scarface's face twitched, and he cried out in disbelief. Police? How could there be police? Who the hell called them? All eyes instantly turned toward me, meeting their gazes. I flashed a faint smile. Then, from my pants pocket, I pulled out another phone, a brand new, shiny screen iPhone. I waved it, showing the ongoing call interface, where the contact displayed was unmistakably 110. Sorry about that, everyone, I said slowly. I'm the kind of person who always likes to have a plan B. While I was running just now, I used this phone to call the police 7 times. Oh, and I also turned on real-time location sharing and live audio streaming. I pointed at my chest pocket, where a small recording pen was clipped, its red light blinking at that very moment. I told them there was a crowd filming with incredibly realistic props, and I was terrified, begging the police for protection. Looks like the officers are really on the ball. Dead silence. A silence so profound you could hear a pin drop. Scarface's expression shifted from fierce to bewildered to stunned, and finally settled into a look of sheer horror, as if he'd seen a ghost. His lackeys were even more terrified, their legs turning to jelly. One with weaker nerves had already started trembling uncontrollably. Even Ruby Lou was staring at me as if I were an alien. She probably racked her brains trying to figure out why I had 2 phones and when exactly I'd called the police. You! Scarface pointed at me, stammering for a long moment without managing to utter a complete sentence. Bang! The factory door was kicked open with a crash. A group of fully armed SWAT officers burst in, their dark gun barrels aimed at everyone inside. Freeze! Police! Hands up! The scene became extremely awkward, especially for me, as I was still holding the axe high, poised to harm myself. A leading officer saw me, clearly taken aback for a moment, then shouted sternly, "You with the axe, what are you trying to do? Drop the weapon now." Could I say I was preparing to act heroically, chopping off my own hand to save my wife's life? Would they believe it? Seeing their tense, battle-ready expressions, I wisely chose to comply. With a clang, I threw the axe to the ground, then raised my hands high, putting on an innocent face. Officers, I'm a victim. I'm a hostage. Scarface and his crew reacted even faster than I did. The moment the police charged in, they all dropped to the ground in unison, hands behind their heads, their posture so perfect it looked like they'd practiced it countless times. Officers, we're innocent. We're actors. We're filming a scene. Scarface cried out tearfully. This is method acting. It's art. Do you understand? The lead officer clearly had no appreciation for art. With a wave of his hand, he cut off any further discussion, ordering everyone to be taken away. Thus began a dramatic kidnapping case. And, Ruby Lou and I, as victims, were also taken to the police station to give statements. In the interrogation room, a young officer poured me a cup of hot water, his tone gentle. Mr. He, don't be afraid. You're safe now. Tell us exactly what happened. I took a sip of water, gathering my emotions. Then my eyes reddened and my voice trembled with a sob. Officer, I've had it so hard. My father-in-law, Arthur Liu, chairman of the Liu Group, has always looked down on me, thinking I'm not good enough for his daughter. Today, he went completely mad. He hired a bunch of actors and staged this whole kidnapping scheme just to test me. They forced me to cut off my hand, threatening my wife's life. How twisted, how cruel is that? I grew more and more agitated as I spoke, pounding my chest and stamping my feet, tears streaming down my face. I was terrified at the time, but I knew I couldn't give in. If I had cut off my hand, I would have played right into his hands. He wanted to see me disabled so he could justifiably kick me out of the house. So, in a flash of inspiration, I pretended to run away, but in reality, I went to get help. I couldn't let my wife fall into his clutches, and I couldn't let this insane test succeed. I was using my wisdom and courage to defend my love and uphold my dignity. I spoke with such sincerity and heartfelt emotion that it was truly moving. The young police officer across from me was stunned, his eyes filled with sympathy and admiration as he looked at me. You've suffered. This is no longer just a simple family dispute. It's unlawful confinement and personal threat. We will handle this seriously. I grasped his hand, tears welling up in my eyes, moved deeply. Thank you, officer. You must punish them severely and give me justice. In another interrogation room, Ruby Liu and her father, Arthur Liu, who had rushed over in a hurry, didn't receive such favorable treatment. I heard that as soon as Arthur Liu arrived at the police station, he was treated as the mastermind and handcuffed on the spot. At that moment, he was roaring at the senior police officer in charge of the interrogation. I told you, I just wanted to test my son-in-law. It was just a joke. A family joke. The old officer slammed the table with a loud crack. A joke? You call this a joke? You hired people to illegally detain your daughter and used weapons to threaten your son-in-law into self-harm. And you tell me it's a joke? We've already interrogated the 7 of them. They all confessed. You paid them to do it. With both witnesses and evidence in hand. Arthur Liu, you're suspected of multiple charges. Get ready for prison. Arthur Liu was so furious he nearly had a heart attack on the spot. Beside him, Ruby Liu kept her head bowed the entire time, not uttering a word, her face as pale as a sheet of paper. She probably never imagined things would escalate to this point. What started as a test meant to humiliate me had spiraled into a scandal that brought shame upon the entire Liu family, turning it into a public spectacle. Under the sympathetic gaze of the young police officer, I calmly finished giving my statement and strolled leisurely out of the police station. Just as I reached the entrance, I saw the Liu family's legal team hurrying over in a flurry. The lead lawyer, a top-tier attorney, spotted me and respectfully bowed his head in greeting. Mr. He. I waved my hand, patted his shoulder earnestly, and said, work hard, try your best to get your boss a suspended death sentence. Lawyer. I ignored him after that. I took a taxi back to the villa, took a hot shower, changed into clean pajamas, and lying on the soft big bed, I felt like I had come back to life. Although the process was a bit bumpy, the outcome was good. My hand was saved, and the villain, my father-in-law, got the punishment he deserved. Perfect. In a cheerful mood, I opened my phone, planning to scroll through some short videos to relax, but as soon as I did, I was flooded with various notifications. Shocking. Billionaire CEO tests daughter's marriage sincerity, stages his own kidnapping plot. Tycoon's desperate counterattack in marriage. You break my hand, I break your fortune. The most unconventional move in history. Facing kidnappers, he chose to call the police. Below were various on-site photos and videos. Scarface and his crew being pinned down by police in a sorry state. Arthur Liu's blurry figure roaring at the police station. And a close-up of me raising an axe with a tragic expression, ready to self-mutilate. No, self-harm. Below it was captioned in bold letters. A real man should be tough on himself. Are these netizens all devils? The comment section is absolutely exploding. Holy crap, this groom is a real one. Staying calm in a crisis and immediately calling the police. I give that move a perfect score. Ha ha ha. I feel bad for that wedding planner. He wanted to see the bride make a fool of herself, but ended up becoming the laughingstock of the entire nation. Am I the only one who noticed? The way this groom bolted looked exactly like me rushing to the cafeteria after work. You're not alone, buddy upstairs. This guy is reliable. When there's trouble, he actually calls the police. I hereby declare that from today on, Jack, he is my sworn brother from another mother. He's our role model as men. Why should we be willing to die for a woman? Reading these comments, I fell into deep thought. It seems I've gone viral. In an utterly ridiculous way. I'm famous, and the Liu family is infamous. The difference is, my fame is glorious, while theirs is shameful. That very night, Liu Corporation's stock plummeted as soon as the market opened, falling so disastrously it was heartbreaking. Countless investors wailed online. They cursed Arthur Liu for having his brains squeezed by a door. Ruby Liu's phone was blown up with calls from the company, the media, business partners, all either asking for explanations or simply coming to gawk at the spectacle. As for the instigator, Arthur Liu, although his formidable legal team prevented him from enjoying a prison meal, he was ordered to reflect on his mistakes at home and suspended from all duties by the company's board of directors. It was a classic case of losing both the battle and the war. Late at night, Ruby Liu dragged her exhausted body back to the villa. As soon as she entered, she saw me sprawled on the sofa, munching on chips while scrolling through short videos, with Pleasant Goat and Big Wolf playing on the TV. Seeing me so carefree and relaxed, the anger she had suppressed all day finally erupted. Jackie, she rushed over, snatched the chips from my hand, and slammed them to the ground. Are you satisfied? You've blown things up so big that the entire Liu family has become a laughingstock. Are you happy? Her eyes were bloodshot, her voice trembling slightly with rage. I slowly sat up from the sofa, picked up a chip from the floor, blew off the dust, and said, still edible if picked up within 5 seconds. Then I crunched it loudly in my mouth. I looked at her and calmly said, Ruby Liu, you've got one thing wrong. It wasn't me who blew things out of proportion. It was you all. It was your clever father who insisted on that damn test. It was you who knew it was fake yet played along, wanting to see me make a fool of myself. Now that it's backfired, you blame me for not following your script. My voice wasn't loud, but every word felt like a slap across Ruby Liu's face. She was left speechless by my words, her chest heaving violently. You bastard. Yes, I am a bastard, I admitted frankly, but a bastard is better than a fool. Did you think I didn't know what you were up to? You just wanted to humiliate me into filing for divorce, so you could openly be with that Wang guy, right? The sky is falling, isn't it? Ruby Lu's face instantly turned deathly pale. I never told you anything. I stood up and walked over to her, looking down at her from above. I will divorce you, but not now. When I'm tired of playing. When I've pissed your father off enough to give him a heart attack. When I've crushed that Wang guy under my heel. Then I'll leave. As for now, I smirked. You, and your Lu family, can just enjoy the surprise I've prepared for you. After saying that, I ignored her and went straight upstairs to my room, leaving Ruby Lu standing alone in the living room, frozen and numb. Over the next few days, I lived quite comfortably, with Arthur Lu suspended from his position and Ruby Lu overwhelmed by the company crisis. No one had time to bother with me. I slept in every day, and after meals, I'd either sunbathe in the yard or take my wooling van out for a spin. Thanks to the kidnapping case, I had become something of a minor internet celebrity. Whenever I walked down the street, I'd occasionally be recognized. Hey, isn't that the runaway son-in-law who stood his ground? Bro, can we take a photo? You're my idol. Teach me your ways. How can I be as tough as you? I welcomed them all, interacting warmly with fans, taking photos, and signing autographs, putting on the airs of a big star. I even opened a live streaming account, naming it The Self-Cultivation of a Son-in-Law. On the first day of streaming, I shared the thought process I went through that day. Brothers, the situation back then was truly critical. On one side was my left hand. My heart was torn. The agony was immense. But then I thought, as long as the green hills remain, there'll be no shortage of firewood. If I died, who would save my beloved? So I decisively chose to run. That's wisdom. That's boundless love. The audience in the live stream went crazy with laughter. Streamer, where's your face? I've never seen someone so shameless. Learn something new. Next time my wife makes me kneel on durian, I'll say I'm training my knees to serve her better in the future. My live stream's popularity skyrocketed, gaining millions of fans in just a few days. The donations I received filled my pockets to the brim, and I even landed an ad deal with a gaming company. They wanted me to endorse their parkour mobile game. I already have the slogan ready. Run fast, get cucked fast. I'll love your wife. Just as my online influencer career was flourishing, the Lu family's crisis intensified. Due to the county scandal, the reputation of the Lu group plummeted. Several key cooperative projects were halted, and Ruby Lu's childhood friend, Victor Wang, the head of the Wang group who took advantage of the situation, added insult to injury. Not only did he publicly announce the cancellation of cooperation with the Lu group, but he also poached their talent everywhere. This left the Lu group plagued by internal and external troubles, with its stock price plummeting repeatedly. That evening, after finishing my live stream, I was happily counting the day's tips. Ruby Lu pushed the door open and walked in. She looked even more exhausted than a few days ago, with heavy dark circles under her eyes. But the look she gave me was no longer just pure anger. It held a hint of complexity. Jackie, she got straight to the point. Victor Wang is targeting the Lu group. Did you know? Oh, I replied without looking up. What's it got to do with me? He poached the core team from our project department and snatched the Southside development project we've been working on for half a year. Ruby's voice carried a trace of weariness. The board has given me an ultimatum. If I can't recover the project, I'll have to resign. Well, that's just great, I said with schadenfreude. If you resign, does that mean you won't have money to give me for my allowance? Ruby Lu took a deep breath, as if trying hard to control her temper. Jackie, I know you're clever. That day at the factory, everyone was fooled, but you saw through the trap from the start. Can you help me? She was actually begging me. I looked up, watching her with interest. Help you? What's in it for me? As long as you can help me get through this crisis. Ruby Lu gritted her teeth. I can agree to one condition. Any condition. I raised an eyebrow, letting my gaze roam freely over her. Ruby Lu's cheeks flushed under my scrutiny, but she forced herself to nod. Fine. I snapped my fingers. Deal. But before I help you, I need to collect a little interest. What interest? I pointed to my shoulder. I've been too busy lately. My shoulder's a bit sore. Come over and give me a massage. Ruby Lu's face instantly turned red. Don't go too far. If you're not willing, forget it. I shrugged indifferently. Then figure it out yourself. Don't forget, that Wang guy is still eyeing you from outside. I prepared to lie down and sleep. Ruby Lu stood rooted to the spot, her pearly teeth biting down on her lower lip as an inner turmoil raged within her. A few seconds later, she seemed to have made up her mind about something. She silently walked over to my bedside, extended those slender, piano-playing hands of hers, and stiffly placed them on my shoulders. To be honest, the Ice Queen's massage technique really wasn't much to speak of. Her pressure was erratic, her movements clumsy and rigid, a far cry from the skill of masseuse number 38 at the foot spa. But what I was enjoying wasn't the massage itself. It was the thrill of conquest, watching the usually aloof and superior Ruby Lu, now blushing and gritting her teeth like a wronged little wife, clumsily kneading my shoulders. The sheer satisfaction in my heart was even more intense than receiving 100 rocket gifts. A little to the left. Yes, right there. Put some more force into it. Come on. Did you skip lunch? Use some strength. I closed my eyes, basking in the moment while shamelessly pushing my luck with the commands. Ruby Lou's breathing grew heavier and heavier. I could even hear her grinding her teeth. I reckoned if looks could kill, I'd have been sliced into 1,000 pieces by her glare by now. Alright, that's enough. After enjoying it for about 10 minutes, I called a stop, feeling quite satisfied. If I let her continue, I was afraid she might not be able to resist the urge to strangle me directly. Let's get down to business. I sat up, ready to discuss the specifics. Ruby Lou seemed as if she had been granted a great reprieve, immediately withdrawing her hands and moving 3 meters away from me, as if I carried some virus. After calming her emotions, she began to explain the company's predicament. In short, that scoundrel Victor Wang took advantage of the Liu family's recent scandal to strike when we were vulnerable. He lured away the entire core team from the South City project department with high salaries, then used this team to snatch a key government-supported project that the Liu group had been pursuing for a long time. This project is crucial for the Liu group, not only concerning the company's future development but also Ruby Liu standing on the board. Once the project completely falls into Victor Wang's hands, the Liu group will suffer a severe blow, and Ruby Liu will inevitably be forced to resign and pushed out of the power center. The team leader who was poached is named Levi Li, a veteran of the company whom my father trusted deeply. Ruby Liu's tone grew somber. I never expected him to betray the company. Trust? I laughed out loud. In the business world, trust is the cheapest thing. Victor Wang offered him triple the salary plus original shares of the Wang Group. No wonder. To be honest, forget triple. Even a double raise would have people lining up to betray. Your dad's outdated emotional appeal is long past its prime. Ruby Liu fell silent, knowing I spoke the truth. So what can we do? She looked up, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. Well, there might be a way. I stroked my chin. To untie the bell, you need the one who tied it. The key lies with that guy named Levi Li. You mean, win him back? Ruby frowned. Impossible. Victor Wang gave him so many benefits. He'd never turn back. Who said anything about winning him back? I rolled my eyes. I mean ruin him. Strip him of everything he has. Ruby Liu froze. What do you mean? Think about it. Why was Victor Wang able to snatch your project? What did he rely on? It was the core technology and project materials that Levi Li took with him. If we can prove that those materials Levi took were stolen trade secrets from the Liu family, what would happen then? Ruby's eyes suddenly lit up. If we can prove it, the Wang family's project would be halted due to illegal sourcing, and they could face jail time for stealing trade secrets. Exactly. I snapped my fingers. When that happens, the project will naturally return to your hands. Victor Wang would end up losing more than he gained, not only failing to secure the project, but also bearing the blame for poor judgment and theft of trade secrets. Let's see how arrogant he can be then. Ruby's breathing grew rapid. This plan was undeniably ruthless. If successful, it wouldn't just resolve the Liu family's crisis, it would also deliver a powerful counterblow to Victor Wang. But how do we prove it? She quickly calmed down again. Levi is cunning. He must have altered all the materials he took. We have no evidence. Who says we have no evidence? I smiled mysteriously. I took out my gaming console and opened what looked like a Tetris game interface. What is this? Ruby Liu looked puzzled. This is a corporate internal information security system your father spent a fortune importing from abroad a few years ago. I explained while operating the game controller. On the surface, it's just an OA office software, but it actually has a hidden backdoor. All files processed on the company's computers are encrypted and automatically backed up to this game's server. And the administrator account and password for this backdoor are known only to your father. How do you know about this? Ruby Liu stared at me in shock. As the company's CEO, she hadn't known the secret. Oh, last time your dad got drunk, he insisted on playing games with me and accidentally let it slip. I made up casually. In reality, I'd once hacked into Arthur Liu's computer out of boredom, looking for some study materials, and stumbled upon it by accident. Ruby Liu was already too tired to even comment. My fingers flew across the controller. The Tetris blocks on the screen kept disappearing. Soon, a hidden folder popped up. I opened the folder, entered a long string of complex code, and immediately, countless encrypted files appeared on the screen. In no time, I pinpointed several files. Levi Li's complete log of copying project data before resigning, down to the second, along with his chat records with Victor Wang, email exchanges, and transaction records. Everything was there. I turned the laptop toward Ruby Liu, staring at the irrefutable evidence on the screen. She was speechless for a long moment, looking at me as if I were some kind of monster. In her eyes, this man had always been a useless good-for-nothing who only knew how to eat, drink, and have fun. But now, not only had he seen through her father's trap, resolved the crisis in an unimaginable way, but he'd also effortlessly found evidence she couldn't even begin to uncover. Just what kind of person was he? With the evidence in hand, what's the next step? I closed the laptop and asked, should we go straight to the police? Or, Song? Ruby Liu cut me off. Her gaze turned icy and sharp, reverting to the decisive, ruthless female executive she was. Going straight to the police is too easy on them. I'm going to hold a press conference and present this evidence in front of all the media. I want to make sure Levi Li and Victor Wang are utterly disgraced. Ruby Liu acted with remarkable efficiency. The very next day, the Liu Group sent out invitations to all media outlets in the city, announcing a press conference to be held in 3 days regarding the South City project. The news immediately caused a huge uproar. Everyone assumed the Liu Group couldn't hold on any longer and was preparing to publicly admit defeat and bow to the Wang family. Victor Wang, especially, became utterly smug. During a media interview, he brazenly declared that the Liu Group was already a thing of the past. Ms. Liu is an outstanding female entrepreneur, he said, but it's a pity she was born into a declining family. If she's willing, the doors of the Wang family are always open for her. His words were filled with the arrogance of a victor and the condescension of someone offering charity to the defeated. Online, voices predicting the Liu family's downfall were also rampant. They said the Liu family was truly finished this time. After all, why offend anyone but young Master Wang? And what about that fiancé? Why hasn't he made a move? He should come out and stir up more trouble already. During these 3 days in the city, I was busy with a major task. In my live stream, I launched a citywide search for a woman named Daisy. Based on the clues I provided, Daisy is around 25 years old, works as a hostess at a KTV, and about 6 months ago, she got pregnant by a man surnamed Li. Not only did he refuse to take responsibility, but he also dumped her, forcing her to return to her hometown alone for an abortion. I claimed to be Daisy's distant cousin, now seeking justice for my pitiful cousin. For this, I offered a reward of 100,000 yuan. Anyone who could provide Daisy's contact information or leads on that scumbag Li would receive the reward immediately. With such a generous offer, brave souls emerged. My millions of fans instantly turned into detectives, scouring the city. Soon, clues began pouring in continuously, and the scumbag Li I was looking for was none other than Levi Li, the project manager who betrayed the Liu family. 3 days later, the press conference proceeded as scheduled. The venue was packed with a sea of people and cameras, with nearly all the city's media in attendance. Victor Wang also came. As the victor, he was invited to sit in the VIP seats in the front row, wearing a confident smile and radiating triumph. Ruby Liu, dressed in a black professional suit, stepped onto the stage with an icy expression. Everyone held their breath, awaiting her surrender announcement. However, as soon as Ruby Liu began to speak, she stunned everyone. Today's press conference was not to announce the abandonment of the South City project, but to expose a despicable and shameless case of commercial theft. As soon as she finished speaking, the evidence I had uncovered began playing on the large screen behind her. Levi Li's operation logs of copying the company's core data, his chat records with Victor Wang, and the bank transfer records from Victor Wang to him. Each piece of ironclad evidence caused an uproar in the room, and the reporter's camera flashes instantly went wild. Sitting in the front row, Victor Wang's smile froze instantly, turning ashen. He never imagined that Ruby Liu would have such evidence in her hands. This is blatant slander, he roared furiously, leaping to his feet. All of this is fabricated. Ruby Liu, to win, you'd resort to such underhanded tactics? Fabricated? Ruby Liu sneered. Victor, don't rush. The real show is yet to come. She snapped her fingers. The door to the press conference venue was pushed open, and several police officers walked in, heading straight toward Victor Wang's right-hand man, Levi Li. Levi Li's face had already drained of color, his legs trembling like a sieve. Mr. Levi Li, you are suspected of theft and leaking trade secrets. Please come with us. Levi Li immediately collapsed to the ground, but that wasn't the end of it. As soon as the police took Levi Li away, a young girl with a swollen belly, crying pitifully, was helped onto the stage by a man wearing sunglasses and a mask, whose figure looked somewhat familiar. I am Daisy, the girl said, her voice trembling but clear as she picked up the microphone. Levi Li is a beast. He deceived my feelings and took advantage of me. He promised to marry me, but as soon as I got pregnant, he dumped me and even gave me money to get an abortion. Today, I want to expose this scumbag's true face in front of everyone. As the girl sobbed, the records and transfer receipts clearly showed Levi Li's name. If commercial theft was what tarnished Levi Li's reputation, then the scandal of abandoning his pregnant girlfriend after leading her on was what nailed him to the pillar of shame, leaving him with no chance of redemption. The scene erupted completely, one bombshell after another. It was truly the drama of the year. Victor Wang's face had turned from ashen to a deep, purplish hue. He stared at the man on stage, wearing sunglasses and a mask, completely concealed, and a sense of foreboding washed over him. That man slowly removed his mask and sunglasses, revealing the face that had recently gone viral online. A blend of charisma and handsomeness. It was me. I gave the reporters in the audience a friendly smile, waved, and said, "Hey everyone, I'm Daisy's cousin." Then I turned to look at Victor Wang, whose face had gone deathly pale, and my smile turned teasing. Surprised. Victor, the person you spent a fortune poaching isn't just a corporate spy. He's also the scumbag of the century. Now, do you still think the legitimacy of your project holds up? Victor Wang stumbled, nearly losing his balance. He had lost, utterly and completely, stripped bare of all dignity. Not only had he failed to secure the project, but he was also left tainted by scandal. The reputation of the Wang Group suffered a significant blow due to its association with that scumbag spy. He stared at me on the stage, calm and composed, and at Ruby Liu, whose expression was icy cold. His eyes brimmed with venom and resentment. He knew all of this had been my design. Jack He, that worthless son-in-law he had never taken seriously, had actually played him for a fool. Jack He growled through gritted teeth. You just wait. With that, he fled the scene in a wretched state, pursued by countless reporters and bombarded by flashing cameras. The press conference concluded with the Liu Group's complete victory. Ruby Liu stood on the stage, watching the chaotic swarm of reporters below and me, standing under the spotlight, speaking confidently and basking in the attention of the crowd. Her gaze grew increasingly complex. This man was like a puzzle. You thought he was useless, yet he could strategize with ease. You thought him heartless, yet he would seek justice for a cousin he'd never even met. You thought him frivolous, but when he acted, he was fiercer than anyone. She found herself understanding him less and less. The press conference was a resounding success. The Liu Group redeemed its reputation. Its stock price soared in response. The Southern District project was regained, and Ruby Liu's position in the company was more secure than ever. As the behind-the-scenes hero and the righteous cousin, I once again went viral across the internet. My live stream viewership broke 10 million. I was flooded with advertising endorsements and business collaborations, and I even received an invitation from a film crew to play a role, essentially myself, as an anti-cliché live-in son-in-law. It seemed my life was truly about to reach its peak. That evening at the Liu family villa, to celebrate the victory, Ruby Liu, for the first time ever, personally cooked a lavish dinner, though the taste was, well, let's just say it left something to be desired. Ahem, this sweet and sour ribs. Did you mistake vinegar for soy sauce? I took one bite and nearly had my teeth fall out from the sourness. And this fish, are you sure it's cooked? I feel like it could still be saved. Ruby Liu's face flushed red then turned pale. Eat it or don't, she said, slamming her chopsticks down. I'll eat it. Of course I'll eat it. I bravely stuffed a piece of the salty fish into my mouth, tears welling in my eyes as I forced a smile. Delicious. Absolutely delicious. It tastes just like your mom's cooking, Ruby Liu said. My mom can't cook. The atmosphere instantly became extremely awkward. To break the awkwardness, I took the initiative to speak up. So, about that condition you promised me earlier, does it still stand? Ruby Liu stiffened, looking at me warily. What do you want? Don't be nervous. I waved my hand. I'm not that kind of person. I just have one small request. I rubbed my hands together, putting on a flattering smile. Look, I helped you solve such a big problem this month. Even if I didn't achieve great merit, I put in hard work, right? Could you maybe increase my allowance a bit next month? Ruby Liu was stunned. She had considered countless possibilities, even mentally prepared for me to make some outrageous demand, but she never expected that after all this effort, what I ultimately wanted was just a little more pocket money. She looked at me as if I were a fool. Just this? I nodded firmly. Money doesn't need to be much, as long as it's enough to spend. I'm not really interested in money. What I was really thinking was, first, get the pocket money increased, so that when it comes to dividing assets in the divorce later, I'll have some bargaining chips. Ruby Liu remained silent for a long time, then took a black card out of her bag and placed it on the table. This card has a limit. Spend it as you like. My eyes widened. A black card with no limit? Damn. Rich lady. Feed me. I snatched the card into my pocket at lightning speed, afraid she might change her mind. Ahem. Since you're so sincere, I won't stand on ceremony. I cleared my throat, putting on a righteous expression. Don't worry. I won't spend it recklessly. I've always been frugal and good at managing the household. Ruby Liu watched my carefree demeanor, the corners of her mouth involuntarily curling upward into a faint smile she herself hadn't even noticed. The meal concluded in this peculiar yet harmonious atmosphere, and the days that followed passed with unusual tranquility. With the black card in hand, I lived the extravagant life I had always dreamed of, buying a limited edition sports car one day, chartering a private jet to go fishing in the Maldives the next, and the day after that, heading to a foot spa to book every masseuse from number 1 to 88, and Ruby seemed to tacitly accept this decadent lifestyle of mine. She no longer spoke to me with cold, cutting words, though her words remained few. The chill in her eyes had noticeably thawed. Sometimes, when I stayed up late gaming, she would silently bring me a cup of warm milk. Other times, when I stumbled home drunk, she would frown and clumsily help me change my shoes and wipe my face. A subtle shift was occurring in our relationship. We were no longer like enemies with swords drawn. Instead, we were beginning to resemble something closer to a real married couple. This feeling made me a bit uncomfortable. I'm a man determined to bring down the Liu family and leave with style. How could I get lost in such tenderness? No, I need to do something to break this harmony. But before I could start stirring up trouble, trouble came knocking on its own. Victor Wang, The man I'd screwed over so badly he was nearly left with nothing. He was back. And in a way I never expected. That day, Ruby Liu and I were having breakfast at home when the TV suddenly cut to breaking news. Victor Wang, former CEO of the Wang Group and a prominent local entrepreneur, fell from a high-rise building under his name in the early hours of this morning and died on the spot. Police initially ruled it a suicide, but a suicide note was found at the scene, its contents directly pointing to Ruby Liu, CEO of the Liu Group, and her husband, Jack He. In the news footage, a reporter was dramatically reading aloud from that suicide note. It was them. It was Ruby Liu and Jack He. They used despicable means to take everything from me, ruin my career and my life, even as a ghost. I won't let them off. I curse them with my death. May they die horribly. Both Ruby Liu and I were stunned. Victor Wang is dead, and he left this suicide note. What the hell kind of plot twist is this? My first thought was, this is definitely a conspiracy. Someone like Victor Wang, selfish and clinging to life like gold, how could he commit suicide? Even if he went bankrupt, he'd rather beg under a bridge than choose death. The doorbell rang. I checked the monitor. Several police officers were at the door, led by the old detective who handled the kidnapping case before. My heart sank. What was coming had arrived. I opened the door, and the old detective looked at us with a grave expression. MS. Ruby Liu. Mr. Jack He. Victor Wang is dead. He left a suicide note accusing you of driving him to his death. Please come with us to the station to assist in the investigation. Returning to the familiar police station, my emotions were quite complicated. Last time I came as a victim, a hero. This time I arrived as a murder suspect. The dramatic ups and downs of life are truly thrilling. In the interrogation room, the veteran officer placed the printed suicide note in front of me. Mr. He, what do you have to say about this? I picked up the suicide note and examined it carefully from start to finish, then posed a soul-searching question. Officer, do printed suicide notes even count these days? I always thought they had to be handwritten. Moreover, the wording is filled with accusations against us, yet not a single mention of longing for his parents. This doesn't align with the mindset of someone about to die. The veteran officer clearly recognized the inconsistencies as well. He nodded and said, we will also authenticate the suicide note's validity. But Mr. He, according to our investigation, there was indeed significant business competition and personal animosity between you and Victor Wang before his death. You have ample motive for the crime. Motive? I laughed. Officer, I admit I didn't get along with that Wang guy, but driving him to suicide? I'm not that bored. If I wanted to mess with him, I had plenty of ways to make his life a living hell. Why let him off so easily? Besides, what good does his death do me? It just brings trouble to my doorstep and costs me a toy to play with. I'm the one losing out here. My words might have sounded shameless, but they made sense. The old detective fell silent for a moment, then asked, where were you and what were you doing during the time Victor Wang died? At home, sleeping. I replied calmly. My wife can vouch for me. Your wife? The old detective's expression turned odd. Mr. He, from what I know, you and your wife sleep in separate rooms, don't you? Damn it, I forgot about that detail. Ahem, I said without batting an eye. Even though we sleep apart, our hearts are together. That night, we stayed up talking, sharing our feelings, from poetry and songs to life and philosophy, until dawn, so we can alibi each other. The old detective looked at me with a keep spinning your tail expression. On the other side, Ruby Liu's interrogation proceeded similarly. She remained much calmer than I did, simply stating the facts and clarifying that she had no connection to Victor Wang's death, due to a lack of direct evidence. Ruby Liu and I were bailed out by our lawyers in less than 24 hours, but we knew all too well that this was far from over. Victor Wang's death was like a massive boulder thrown into the calm waters of our lives, stirring up towering waves. The Wang family refused to back down, adamantly insisting that we had driven Victor Wang to his death and demanding we pay with our lives. The media amplified the narrative, portraying us as a ruthless couple who would stop at nothing to achieve our goals. The stock price of Liu Corporation plummeted once again, even more drastically than before. Partners terminated contracts one after another, banks pressed for loan repayments, and morale within the company plummeted. The entire Liu Corporation was plunged into an unprecedented crisis. The atmosphere in the villa grew unbearably tense. Ruby Liu sat slumped on the sofa, her face pale and silent. I knew she was truly at her breaking point this time. The pressure from the outside world, the company's crisis, and the Wang family's relentless pressure were enough to crush even the strongest person. I walked over and sat down beside her. Don't be afraid, I said, softening my tone unusually. I'm here. Ruby Liu looked up at me, her eyes red-rimmed. Jack He, did I really do something wrong? If we hadn't pushed Victor Wang so hard back then, would he not have died? She began to doubt herself. You're being silly, I said, tapping her head with a mix of exasperation and affection. I'm telling you, Victor Wang definitely didn't kill himself. Someone's behind this, aiming to bring us down and destroy the Liu family. But who would do such a thing? That's exactly what I'm going to find out. I stood up, my gaze sharpening. Since they dare to play dirty, Don't blame me for flipping the table. I took out my phone and dialed a number. Hey, Scarface, it's me, Jack He. From the other end of the line came a familiar, somewhat ingratiating voice. Oh, brother He, what brings you to call me? What's the matter? It was the same kidnapper boss I'd framed and sent to jail last time. Scarface. After he got out, for some reason he insisted on calling me Big Brother, saying he'd have a future following me. I couldn't be bothered with him at first, but now he came in handy. Help me look into someone, I said succinctly. On the night Victor Wang died, I want to know about all suspicious people and vehicles near his building. No problem, brother He. Leave it to me. Scarface thumped his chest in assurance. My crew may not have many other skills, but they're experts at these street-level tricks. Hanging up the phone, I turned to Ruby Liu again. As for the company, you hold the fort first. No matter what rumors are spreading outside, don't respond. Remember, we're innocent. A clear conscience fears no accusation. But what about the board of directors? If those old geezers on the board dare to talk nonsense, just tell them. I sneered. Whoever dares to spout more nonsense might be the next one to take a dive off a building. Ruby Liu was startled by the murderous intent in my words, but for some reason, seeing my calm and powerful demeanor at that moment, her panicked heart miraculously settled down, as if with this man by her side, even the gravest matters could be resolved. Chapter 9. Scarface's efficiency was higher than I had imagined. In just one day, he brought me crucial leads. Brother, he found something. Scarface's voice was excited over the phone. On the night Victor Wang died, there was a suspicious black van in the underground garage of his building. It entered half an hour before he fell and left 10 minutes after. We checked the surveillance. The license plate was fake. What about the people inside? I pressed. Couldn't see clearly. They were all wearing hats and masks. But one of my brothers, who happened to be delivering takeout nearby that night, said he thought he saw someone familiar getting out of that van. Who? James Liu. I was stunned for a moment. The name sounded vaguely familiar. I racked my brain for a while before finally dredging it up from the depths of my memory. James Liu is the younger brother of my cheap father-in-law Arthur Liu, which makes him Ruby Liu's second uncle. I recall that he was kicked out of the Liu family many years ago by Arthur Liu for embezzling company funds, and all ties were severed from then on. How could he be connected to Victor Wang's death? A bold speculation began to form in my mind. Scarface, keep digging for me, I said in a low voice. Investigate all of James Liu's recent activities, who he's been in contact with, his financial transactions. The more detailed the better. Got it, brother He. After hanging up, my expression turned extremely grave. If my guess was correct, then this wasn't just a simple case of business revenge. It was a long-planned, internal power struggle targeting the entire Liu family. I didn't tell Ruby Liu about this immediately. Without solid evidence, I didn't want to burden her with more pressure. I began investigating quietly on my own, utilizing my status as an internet celebrity and my resourceful fan base. I quickly uncovered James Liu's shady past. This man, after being expelled from the Liu family, had been living in poverty and was drowning in gambling debts. But recently, he suddenly became flush with cash, not only paying off all his debts but also purchasing several properties. The source of his funds traced back to an overseas account, and when I uncovered the name of the account holder, I was utterly stunned. William Smith, a name I knew all too well. He was the foreign husband Ruby Liu's mother, my never-met mother-in-law, remarried after her divorce. All the clues fell into place at that moment. That mother-in-law of mine, living abroad, had never given up her designs on the Liu family fortune. First, she used James Liu, a pawn discarded by the family, to connect with Victor Wang, who also harbored a grudge against us. They conspired to fake Victor Wang's suicide and frame us, all to bring down the Liu Corporation and throw the Liu family into chaos. Then she would appear as a savior, team up with James Liu, and smoothly seize control of the Liu group. What a classic case of the mantis stalking the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. What a vicious woman. A chill ran down my spine. The hearts of women are the most poisonous. The ancients truly did not deceive us. I immediately told Ruby Liu all about my discovery and speculation. After hearing it, Ruby Liu sat motionless on the sofa, silent for a long time, the color draining from her face. She couldn't believe that the mastermind behind all this was actually her own mother, that gentle, beautiful woman in her memories. No, it's impossible, she murmured to herself, tears streaming down her cheeks. Why would she do this? I'm her daughter too. Seeing her utterly devastated, my heart ached with pain. I walked over and pulled her into my arms. It was the first time I'd taken the initiative to hold her. Her body was stiff at first, but gradually relaxed in my embrace. She buried her face in my chest, crying uncontrollably like a helpless child. I didn't say anything, just held her quietly, gently patting her back. I knew that any words of comfort would feel hollow right now. What she needed was simply a shoulder to lean on. After she had cried her fill and gradually calmed down, I spoke up. Now is not the time for sorrow. We must fight back. Ruby Liu lifted her head, her reddened eyes reigniting with fighting spirit, but more so with a chilling hatred. You're right, she said, wiping her tears, her voice hoarse yet resolute. If she shows no mercy, then I won't hold back either. I'll make her pay for what she's done. Just as I expected, when the Lu group was beset by internal and external troubles and teetering on the brink, Ruby Lu's mother, Mandy, returned to the country with great fanfare, accompanied by her foreign husband, William Smith, and Ruby's uncle, James Lu. Under the banner of helping the Lu group overcome its difficulties, they convened a shareholders meeting in an attempt to remove Ruby Lu from her position as CEO and replace her with James Lu. At the shareholders meeting, James Lu was in high spirits, delivering impassioned speeches that painted himself as the hero who saved the family from crisis. Meanwhile, Mary Shen played the role of the devoted mother, tearfully accusing Ruby Lu of unfilial behavior and incompetence, claiming she had led the Lu family to ruin. Most shareholders, unaware of the truth, were swayed by their words and expressed support for James Lu. Just as Ruby Lu was about to be ousted, and James Lu was preparing to announce the voting results, I kicked open the conference room door. Calmly, I walked in with a lollipop in my mouth, looking utterly nonchalant. All eyes were fixed on me. Jackie, what are you doing here? This is a shareholders meeting, not a place for a useless son-in-law like you. James Lu shouted at me upon seeing me. Useless? I chuckled, walked up to him, and pointed the lollipop at him. Uncle James, you can eat whatever you want, but you shouldn't talk nonsense. Otherwise, you might face consequences. You, what about me? I ignored him, walked straight to the podium, and took the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, shareholders and guests, before the voting begins, I'd like to show everyone a good show. After saying that, I snapped my fingers 7 times, and the large screen in the conference room lit up, displaying surveillance footage. The video showed the night Victor Wang fell from the building, in the underground parking garage of his apartment building. Inside a black business vehicle, James Lu and 2 other men were dragging a heavily intoxicated man upstairs. That man was Victor Wang. Then the scene shifted to Victor Wang's living room, where James Lu was video calling a woman. The woman in the video, with impeccable makeup and elegant poise, was none other than Mary Shen, sitting in the conference room. Mom, it's all taken care of. We got him drunk, and the suicide note is already on him. We'll throw him off in a bit, guaranteed to leave no trace. In the video, James Lu's voice was clearly audible, and Mary Shen, on the other end of the call, flashed a satisfied smile. Well done, James. Once this is over, the Lu family will be ours. At this point, the video abruptly stopped. The entire conference room fell into a deathly silence. Everyone was stunned, looking incredulously at the screen, then at James Lu and Mary Shen, whose faces had turned ashen. The truth, it turns out, was like this. Victor Wang didn't commit suicide at all. He was murdered by them. No, this isn't true. It's fabricated. Mary Shen was the first to react, screaming hysterically. James Lu was so terrified he collapsed to the ground, babbling incoherently. It's fake. All fake. Fake. I sneered coldly, took out my phone, and played a recording. In the recording, it was a conversation between me and Scarface. Brother He, those 2 men who were with James Lu, we found them. They've confessed. James Lu paid them to throw Victor Wang off the building together. They also said James Lu gave them a sum of hush money to go abroad and hide. After the recording finished, I tossed out a bank transfer record. This is a record of a transfer from Ms. Mary Shen to James Lu, and this is James Lu's transfer to those 2 assassins. With both witnesses and material evidence in hand, I walked up to Mary Shen, looking down at this woman who was once noble and elegant but now appeared like a madwoman. What more do you have to say now? Mary Shen completely broke down. Everything she had meticulously planned was, at the last moment, destroyed in an instant by this good-for-nothing she had never taken seriously, who ruined her wedding. She screamed and lunged at me, trying to claw my face, but how could I let her succeed? I sidestepped easily, dodging her. She missed, her high heel twisted, and she fell to the ground in a clumsy heap. And at that moment, the conference room door was pushed open once again. A group of police officers walked in, led by that familiar old policeman. He walked up to Mary Shen and James Lu and flashed his handcuffs. Ms. Mary Shen, Mr. James Lu, you are suspected of intentional homicide and commercial fraud. You are now formally under arrest. The dust settled. A wealthy family's internal struggle came to a dramatic close, the curtain falling in such a theatrical way. A month later, under Ruby Lu's leadership, the Lu group was back on track, and I, at last, began living the carefree, leisurely life I had always dreamed of. That day, I was lounging in the yard on a recliner, basking in the sun and sipping an ice-cold cola. Ruby Lu walked over and sat down beside me. She was wearing a white dress, her long hair cascading over her shoulders, looking as beautiful as a fairy in the sunlight. Jack, she said softly. Thank you. What for? I asked lazily. Thank you for everything you've done for me and the Lu family. Oh, that. I waved my hand dismissively. No need to thank me. It was all a transaction. That black card you gave me is quite handy. Ruby looked at me and suddenly smiled. Her smile was like the first thaw of ice, bringing life to everything around her. I was momentarily stunned. Jack, she said, looking into my eyes earnestly. Let's start over. Not as actors, not under an agreement, but as a real couple. Let's start over. Her cheeks flushed slightly, and her eyes held a tenderness and anticipation I had never seen before. As I looked at her, my heart was a whirlwind of emotions. I admit that throughout all these events, I had developed some unusual feelings for this ice-cold woman, but I am a man destined to become the king of the live-in son-in-law. How could I let a woman hold me back? I paused for a moment, then looked at her with a serious expression. It's not impossible for me to start over with you, but I have one condition. What condition? Ruby Liu asked nervously. I cleared my throat and said slowly, from now on, you'll be in charge of washing all the dishes at home.